This morning, Bank of America downgrading Dick's Sporting Goods to neutral from a buy, saying that the sales and margin outlook for the retailer are a concern as consumers normalize spending on categories that outperformed during COVID-19, things like outdoor apparel and bicycles. And joining us right now is Matt Shea. He is president and CEO of the National Retail Federation. And Matt, we are trying to comb through everything we're hearing from these retailers and figure out, A, what the consumer looks like, how the economy is doing, and B, how big of a problem theft. It's called shrinkage, theft, whether that be from organized crime, whether that be from shoplifting, things along those lines. Why don't we start with what you think the consumer is doing right now?
Well, Becky, good morning. I think if we do the step back, and I know, of course, last week, this week, the focus has been on earnings of individual retailers, so we're going to go to each individual company. But at a macro level, consumers are still in a very good place, and they're still spending. Certainly things have changed. Yes, depending upon what you use as your standard of measure for how much excess savings exists, they're spending that down, but there's still plenty of firepower on the sidelines for consumers. And are they spending it in the same ways they were 18 months, 12 months, 24 months ago? They're not, but they're still spending. And so what are they doing? They're moving increasingly into their essential categories. They're prioritizing things for their families and for their homes that they know they have to buy on a must-buy basis. They're moving away from some discretionary categories. And when they are in discretionary categories, they're really looking for value. They're trying to find the right opportunity for them, for their household, for their family. And then they, of course, have that whole services mix, the whole piece of the experience economy that was essentially closed during COVID that has been taking a larger share of wallet with each increasing month. Matt, we saw goods really spike during COVID, and now we're seeing some settling, some reversion to the mean.
Matt, it may be that consumers are still spending, but that is a definition of a weaker consumer than we'd been dealing with before, especially a weak consumer when it has to do with the retailers themselves. If you're spending on essentials, that's a very different picture than being a flush consumer who's willing to spend on just about anything. I hear your point about COVID, but one thing we've been hearing from a lot of these retailers recently is that theft, shrinkage, all of this is a much bigger problem and that it's eating into their bottom lines. It's an issue that you have taken up on behalf of the retailers. Where does it stand? Because it does seem like some retailers have it much worse than others. And as Joe pointed out yesterday, there's the suspicion that this is kind of the new weather where you blame things on this huge theft and shoplifting problem. It's a big problem, but maybe not responsible for everything we're hearing right now about weakness at the retailers.
Yeah, so just to finish that last comment about the strength of the consumer, to your point, there is some moderating, certainly, in consumer behavior, but we're tracking this year at 4% growth at a macro level. In any year before COVID, that would have been an outstanding year. We got used to 7, 8, 15% growth in 2021, 22. So, again, we're getting back to pretty good performance at a macro level, but it's certainly not the same level it was the last couple of years. On organized retail crime, our study, and we've talked about this before, the K2 study we released a couple of months ago, $100 billion estimate in shrink. I think Joe's right. We ought to just call this what it is. It's stealing. It's hard to track. There's no question about that. But the one thing that's been pretty consistent throughout the last 2 weeks of all of the conversations you've had with CEOs, all the earnings calls you've listened in on, participated in, it's been mentioned shrink, theft, shoplifting, organized retail crime have become a theme that I think is consistent across many brands, across many segments. And this isn't just people pulling this out of thin air. They're seeing this in real time. And you and Joe had the conversation yesterday about, is this getting to be like the weather, something everyone deals with? I think there's an element of truth and accuracy to that. But it's also like the weather in the sense that in many ways, this is out of retailers' control. They can't control the weather, and some of this they can't control. If there aren't enough policemen and women on the job, and we work very closely with them, they do an outstanding job, but in many places they're understaffed. If prosecutors aren't going to prosecute these crimes, if state legislatures and municipalities and cities have reclassified many of these as misdemeanors, not felonies, they've deprioritized this. And the important thing here is keeping communities safe, keeping workers, associates, team members, consumers safe. And we don't see it. You know, you're used to it in Manhattan. We see it in Washington, D.C. Some markets around the country, people are used to seeing goods locked up, not on the shelves, hard to access. In many markets, that's not the case. So this is like weather. It's like a hurricane. Some places, some cities, this hits, and it hits hard, and it hits badly. And in a low-margin business like retail, if you're losing high single digits, low double digits in shrink, and you're on a 2%, 3% margin, you're going to be unprofitable in that store. And as many CEOs have said in the last 2 years, that means stores don't have items for customers. That means stores have to close. That hurts jobs. That hurts economic development. So it's a real issue.
You've been personally, I think, aggressive and outspoken about these issues around shrinkage or more maybe directly theft. And you hear it in some of the earnings calls and the like. But it's very rare where we're seeing CEOs be super outspoken and super direct about this issue. And I'm so curious why you think that is.
Well, I think you've heard some CEOs say this in the last 2 weeks, and you've had some CEOs say this for the last few quarters. So I don't know that anyone's backing away from saying this. I do think there are some competitive issues here, certainly. And so we're not seeing retailers publicly disclosing on a city-by-city, zip code by zip code, store by store basis how they're performing in individual markets.
Who's competing for more shrinkage? What would be the competitive issue with not being more direct about where you're seeing it, what the problem is, which city is not doing the job that you think they should be doing in terms of enforcing the law? I mean, when I say people being outspoken, you on behalf of the industry have been quite outspoken. I think you've even been outspoken about certain cities. I think that when you actually get down to it, on a corporate level, the outspokenness and sort of directness about, which city is a problem, which municipality is not doing their job, which mayors and police departments are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, where the law needs to change in which states and which areas. That's where you don't see the directness.
Well, I'll give you two examples. One is in New York, and Mayor Adams and the work that he's doing with his task force. There are many retailers involved in that, and many CEOs and senior executives. The Partnership for New York has been very involved, lots of CEOs involved there. The other issue is in the state of California, and some reform or repeal of Proposition 47. That was the proposition that passed in 2014 that reclassified many of these property crimes as misdemeanors below an $850 threshold. And that, I think, in many ways set the tone, at least in that state and in many cities in that state, for a different approach to policing and criminalizing some of this behavior.